Hey everybody, welcome to the Multifamily Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Peterson. I am so glad that you are here today. As you guys probably know from our last podcast, we are in the middle of filling up our Kahuna boardroom. And I'm really passionate about this boardroom event and what we created because I really believe that it is absolutely unique to this genre, this multifamily class of educators. And the reason is because, I'm a deal maker. I make more money doing apartment deals than I would ever could imagine than doing education and teaching. I teach because I love it. I love giving back. And so I created an event where we teach you from A to Z the whole gambit of apartment investing, from finding deals, finding money, how to analyze the deals, how to build your team, how to make profits with operations. We go through the whole gambit and we teach you it step by step by step. We also have, we call load up before you show up. We give you a 5-week webinar training, and some of those are live, some of them are recorded, but they're really intense trainings. And then we also have a 3-day intensive, and that 3-day intensive is me kicking everybody's butt, but just giving personalized coaching and really just and making everybody do the work and get into the software and figure it out and say the words and get muscle memory starting to go. And it really is a unique event. Very proud and honored to do it. And listen, out there in the marketplace, like for these types of programs, I know some investors or some educators out there that charge $50,000 to up to $100,000 for their coaching program. What? Are you kidding me? For what? What are you doing for that amount of money? I'm not charging that at all. Not even close. And I wanted to make something where I could teach 35 people. I let 35 people into my boardroom. And the 35 people that come in that you have to do an application are killers. And they really want to move the needle. And so if that's you, what I would like to do is I want to invite you to come to a webinar. And let me kind of give you some of my secrets. Let me give you just some secrets, right? I'll talk about raising private money, some of the things I do there. I'll talk about finding deals. I'll talk about a little bit of everything into the apartment world, and then really just give you a deep dive of what my course does, and then we're going to invite you to apply. And so if you would like to learn more about the Kahuna Boardroom, simply go to Kahuna HQ. So that's KAHUNA, like the big Kahuna, HQ for a headquarters. So KahunaHQ.com is where you can go to register for that webinar. We're going to do it 2 weeks in a row. So we'll have once coming up, and then we're going to do a replay. But if you will go to KahunaHQ.com, we would love to share some secrets in the multifamily space and really give a really good insight with some videos and showing you some testimonials and some of the things that we do for you, because it really is awesome. And we just would like to invite you to take a look under the kimono and see what we do at the boardroom and see if it's for you. With that said, guys, welcome to the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Multifamily Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Peterson. Wonderful show for you today. We are here with Jared Irby from Mobile, Alabama. He's got this is one of my CG brethren, one of my good friends. He's in the same mastermind that we track on into this field, and we go into the blind unknown, and we share each other's information, and it's one of the best groups I've ever belonged to. What about you, Jared?
Oh man, well I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, and CG is it's a great group of people, and it's really totally next level stuff for sure. Yeah. So it's been awesome.
So Jared has he's been in the real estate business for a while. He's got a unique story of how he came into the multifamily or came into the single family space, still doing single family and doing it successfully, and started to add some multifamily in to his portfolio. And so he's flipped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of houses, owns over 100 units, and I think a lot of people is going to relate to this episode in this show is because a lot of us start out. We don't start out in multifamily. Most of us start in single family space, and we start finally getting to the point where we're ready to have some more cash flow coming in. And I think this is right where you're at, Jared. So, Jared, welcome to the show, brother.
Man, appreciate you having me on. And yeah, it's been an interesting ride to get to this point so far, for sure.
So we were talking before the show started about like kind of your journey a little bit and how you kind of got into the business, when what you were doing before you jumped into real estate. So if you would, I would love to hear your story and let you unfold it onto where you started and where you came from and where you are right now.
Yeah, so I've pretty much been an entrepreneur from day one, and had an opportunity in college with a business partner to be a part of a little startup that was basically a startup internet marketing company. And so I dropped out of school after about a semester, and we kind of piled off into that. And that company progressed, and we started doing a lot of marketing, and basically we became a call center that did telemarketing, telephone sales, customer support, even collections, that kind of business process outsourcing type of stuff, along with basically being a marketing and sales company. And so that kind of, I've always been a business person, but those were always businesses that generated, cash. You earn it. It's just earned income. And so was kind of always looking for more, how do I do this more passively? And so, as I made some money, I would, instead of blowing it on dumb stuff, I would go buy real estate, which some of those deals end up being kind of dumb too. But ultimately, started buying some houses. I think the first house I flipped, the second one I kept as a rental. I still have it today. And then, bought a couple more rentals, but was mainly flipping, buying one or two rentals a year, just kind of the same way everybody else probably is, on your show, just kind of using whatever money I could find, whether it was my own cash or that kind of thing. And just over time progressed and built up a nice portfolio. And as business changed, I had an opportunity to go full time and just dove right into the single family flipping space. Basically, we flip about 100 we flipped over 120 houses last year, probably closer to 200 for this year. We're on track for.
That's a lot, brother. That takes systems and processes.
Oh man. Yeah, that's it's no joke, man, on that side of things. But that's gave me the opportunity to keep buying, pretty deeply discounted single families. And that really opened my eyes to a whole new world on the multifamily side, because, I honestly didn't know it existed 4 or 5 years ago. In my mind, I thought, an apartment building is so far out of left field, even though I'd probably flipped 50 or 60 houses. It was really the last thing on my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. That seems to be true. And then, there's a big focus on multifamily right now, right? And I think it's because it's more challenging than ever to make money in the fix and flip business, or even a lot of my wholesaler friends are like, dude, it's hard to even do that, right? But the truth is, sometimes you got to do both. Like I wholesaled up until like 2 years ago. I was doing two businesses. I had my multifamily business that was running and doing and acquiring properties, but sometimes in the beginning they don't always cash flow. Like you need to like live on. They will eventually cash flow really well, but it's nice to have a little bit of game in an income stream, right? And single family flips seems to be pretty nice.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's kind of my model is we, theoretically fill up a dump truck full of cash over here with flipping it, and then we go invest it into more cash flowing type investments, all real estate, but single family multi. even, some office and small retail and stuff like that is what I've been working on. But yeah, it's great to have that income stream. And frankly, it makes it easier, from a banking perspective to even buy those multifamily, to have that nice income stream to begin with.
Right.
You kind of an extra support system to just the property. It makes it easier to finance, makes your investors believe you more. I mean, there's a lot of good benefits to it.
So on your single families that you're currently buying and flipping, where do you get most of your funds for that?
Well, so we do quite a bit of wholesaling on the single family side. We probably wholesale 65-70% of our deals.
Yep.
The rest of them we either wholesale or bring on as rentals. On the rental side of things, we pretty much use private money and hard money lenders. Same thing when we actually do rehabs or hotel type deals. We're using pretty much all private money from local individuals who have between 50 and 250 grand to invest. We also have some hard money guys that we use as well. And then ultimately on the rentals, we go transition to more longer term financing from local banks, kind of that the BRRRR type strategy.
Right.
And
so you're saying you're buying them. Sometimes you got to do a little rehab on them on some of these fix and flip properties to get them rentable, where they're like, and then you put a renter in it. Now it's cash flowing. Now let's refi long term, right? Cash out that short term money that you had, fix and flip money kind of thing. Transaction.
Exactly.
Money. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. We like to be in and out on that short-term money in, 6 months or less. And that's kind of the sweet spot, it seems like, for the banks, to be in it for 6 months and then you can refi.
And then they'll let you refi it to long-term debt, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the key. So that used to not be available. Yeah. I remember when I was trying to do that in like 2009, they're like, no, we're not doing it. We want a year or 2 years seasoning. You're like, what do you mean?
Yeah, and they'll let you do it after a month, but you're going to use more of your cost basis as opposed to the appraised value. So
yeah, you want to get as much leverage as possible. So like that sweet spot's like 6 months. Well, that's perfect, right?
Exactly, because that's pretty much how long it takes to take it down, get it fixed up, get a renter in there for 2 or 3 months, and then by the time that's all done, you're ready to rock on there. And we try to package them up 5 at a time or so, and
right.
refi out on kind of commercial loans from local community banks.
Yes. That's a great. So understand, like, so there's lots of ways. Like when I say, I love apartments, I just love cash flow, right? So I love it when guys, whether in their single family world or the multifamily world, doesn't matter. When they start focusing on the cash flow, and I like that analogy what you just said. Like, let's get 3 or 4 or 5 together. You pool it up to make a pool of money that a commercial bank or a local bank, it's big enough that they want to take down, because they don't want a small deal. They want at least, $500,000 or more, you say? Probably, or something. That's what's their loan preference?
At least $250,000, $300,000, $400,000. I mean, the more the better, as far as from a loaning perspective. They want to put more money out on the street. That's how they get paid. But it just also makes the closing costs spread around 5 deals instead of one.
Yes, exactly.
There's a lot of benefits of packaging them up, and you're right. I just love the cash flow aspect of it. I mean, honestly, I'm not making a ton of money off the rentals today. It's this long-term play where I've got my primary source of income, and these are all just building up a massive balance sheet, tons of equity.
Yes.
A good cash flow, or good safe cash flow. Maybe not. It's not.
It's not astronomical, right? Yeah, but
you're not buying Lambos with the cash flow off of it, but you're living nice and well taken care of, and you don't have a lot of worries, so that's really nice. But the multifamily, it's definitely one thing that I've been pursuing heavy over the past year and a half, 2 years. Gone from 0 multifamily to over 100 multifamily units in the last year and a half or 18 months, or maybe the last 2 years now.
Right.
And I can see that there's a great, you can really concentrate your efforts on one property, one geographic location, and you get this kind of like laser beam effect. It's kind of like cooking an ant, like with a magnifying glass. The sun doesn't cook it, put the magnifying glass on it, put it on one little spot, and you can really start a fire. So kind of cuts both ways too, if you mismanage it. But if you manage it well, you can really affect your cash flow dramatically with a lot lower overhead per door than you can, with a massive single family portfolio spread out over town.
Yeah, bingo. So that's you bring up a great point. So I believe in single family, the strategy is buy, hope to break even, right, and hold for a long enough time that appreciation will. That's how you make your money, right? It's
Yeah.
if you can hold assets for like a group of houses for 10 years, then you could sell half of them and maybe even pay the other half off, and that's when you can really cash flow on the single family side. On the multifamily side, whether smaller unit size, whatever, but they tend to cash flow better right out the get go because your cost
Oh
per door
yeah.
is less. It's
Yeah,
scale of
yeah, no
economy.
doubt. And I think the big reason why is, well, one, you've got your assets concentrated, so you're actually paying attention, right? Like some of the houses that I own, I've never been to before, like a single time.
Right.
I mean, there's a couple houses that I haven't been to in 10 years, so but my multifamily stuff, I'm paying attention to that and I'm making sure it's managed properly because you've got a lot of assets concentrated on one point. But the biggest thing is that, your overhead is just so much lower, and
Yes.
you're actually treating it as a business. So you're getting a lot of cash, and you're 100% right on the houses. My house is cash flow, but it's so small for the headache it's worth. The real play is in the pay down, the debt pay down, and the appreciation, because the houses are more, the value's based more on emotion than it is, an actual, net income stream.
Yep.
Houses go up in certain neighborhoods because people like that neighborhood, not because that house is like intrinsically worth more cash flow. It goes up in value kind of just because.
Right.
And multifamily, you can affect the income stream and affect the value dramatically. But single family, if I charge $100 more in rent on a house, that doesn't really change the value of the house in any meaningful way. Um, you
Yep.
know, so I like kind of having it both ways. I get to hit the single family stuff, spread my risk around a little bit, get some potentially big appreciation gains. They're also a lot easier to buy, frankly. It's less work to buy one single family than it is to buy one multifamily, in theory, but it's also probably easier to buy one 100 unit apartment complex than it is to buy 100 single families. But so I do both, and that's kind of my strategy there. And multifamily is where the real cash flow happens.
No, I love it. I love that analogy just of because I feel like a lot of my listeners too, a lot of them are in that wholesale and fix and flip space. I've got a lot of people that are just also doctors, dentists, lawyers that are just like, hey, I want to do multifamily. They see like, listen, I have influence in this, and I think I just want to start here. So, but sometimes that's not equitable for everybody. Some people need to start in the single family space a little bit, and because you can learn a lot from that. I learned that's my story, right? I started off wholesaler, fix and flip, transitioned into multifamily, and it's been a great ride.
Yes, yeah, excuse me, but yeah, I agree. If you're, I won't say low income, but if you're not a high, super high net worth, high income, job, doctor, lawyer, engineer, something that's, you're knocking down 250 plus a year, you probably need to start out, doing some singles, or, helping somebody put together a multifamily deal or something like that. Cause you got to build up capital. You got to build up a balance sheet to really be able to play in that game. You could even wholesale, apartments and stuff to guys like you or me. But if you've got, a substantial income and a substantial nest egg to invest, it kind of makes more sense, in my opinion, to invest in a multifamily project, whether that's directly or through a syndication or something like that. You're able to really leverage your time a lot better because, if you're working 80 hours a week, you don't need to be screwing around with a house over here and a house over there. You need to be able to have your assets concentrated enough where you can afford to have good people looking over those assets.
Yeah, I totally agree. So your first bigger multifamily, what size, and tell me the story how that went down.
Well, so my first multifamily was actually an 11 unit.
Yeah.
And for me, that was big because I had only ever bought single families before. I had bought a couple little portfolios of 2 or 3 houses at a time. Uh, but I actually found that on LoopNet of all places, and it had been picked over pretty hard. You know, they had already had a lot of offers and activity and stuff, and it had been sitting there for 6 months. And I finally called and just really made a lowball offer because the property needed a substantial amount of work. But I saw kind of a vision on it. It's in a historical area in town. Actually, I'm only about a mile or two from my office, and the
So
town.
you understood the area really well too, right?
Yeah, it's really regentrifying there. That particular street that it's on, it's a little sketchy on one half of the street and really good on the other half of the street. And then there's a $500,000 house, you know, that touches my property on the backside, and a $5,000 house that touches the property on the other side. So like it's kind of these weird transitional, you know, properties in a historic area. And so I had a vision for it that, you know, right now it's renting out for $400 a month. I'm like, man, these units can get 750, 800 a month. And it really just needs a little bit of a facelift. It's a brick, it's a brick 2-story building. You know, the units are or they're up and down. So, you know, the bedrooms are up top and it's more like it looks almost like a townhouse type of development.
Yep.
And so we came in, put a really nice big 8-foot tall fence around it. You know, we've got it, you know, looking good on the outside. Went in and rehabbed the inside completely. You know, new cabinets, new everything. You know, basically, you know, everything but the sheetrock came out. And then really go in and kind of was more of like a development project almost. We let it go completely vacant to get all the, you know, kind of tenants out of there that were causing problems, and then brought in all brand new tenants at that new higher price point. And now we've got a great little development there. And then that kind of led me to my actual first big deal as well. So
11 units. That's probably your same cookie cutter mix of, hey, let's go find some private money to help take this down, right? Because that's still within reason, right? That's not so hard to. Or how do you finance it?
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I actually, you know, I've built up a pretty decent, you know, balance sheet over the years, and I was in a cash position to be able to put a down payment down on it. And so I raised a little bit of private money, and I went and got a construction loan from the bank, basically like a bridge type loan that converted to a 5-year term after that. And I just went to a local community bank with my plan. Made a really nice financing proposal package to them, showed them what I was going to do, you know, did like a before and after kind of thing, used my single family experience, like before and after pictures and stuff like that to really make, you know, like to kind of sell the story. And then, you know, I had enough of a good balance sheet and income to back up to be able to support the property even vacant, and was able to take it down that way with bank financing.
So that's a great story, because now I want to cue into everybody this. So the question would be, well, what if you didn't have good enough balance sheet or bank, whatever, right? So you're saying right now, hey, I was fortunate enough to do that, but what I want my listeners to understand that is, if you don't have that, go find someone that does.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree. And I'll tell you, I made a cash offer on it, and I didn't have all the cash, just so you know. But, you know, so there's a little bit of like magic involved in all this anyways, where you got to project a certain image to be able to take down deals. And, and it's the same thing we do on the single family side. You know, we're the largest buyer in town. It's not because we have $50 million in the bank. It's because we know how to get a deal done, you know, and it's kind of the same thing on the multifamily side. And so I think the single family experience of kind of basically projecting the image that you want to present to the seller.
Yes.
This out. But yeah, I don't think that raising private money on this particular deal would have been, you know, a huge deal. And I got about 50 grand for the down payment from a private money lender as a second position. You know, but I had the cash to do it myself, even if that didn't work out. So getting the private money is not that hard. Honestly, getting the community bank to be on board, I really really didn't feel like was that hard. I called around, asked for references for who is hot on multifamily, who wants to do deals. I talked to 4 or 5 bankers, and they all said yes, but there was a clear winner that just said, yes, we want it. We want to work with you. We want a relationship. And they're who I use for all my multifamily now.
Yeah.
And they really understand it. They like the product, and they're aggressive on it.
What more could you ask for, right? That is like, so key takeaway here is like, I preach bigger units, right? That's what I've come to love, that process, right? So, but the truth is it doesn't matter. Like, it could be 11 units, just like what Jared just did, or more, right? It could be a quad. It could be a duplex. It's the same kind of process, though. Like, when you can buy something for a good price, rehab it, fix any of the broken stuff, bring it to a new level, find better quality tenants that will pay you more, like, that's usually a winning formula, right? And then you just got to upkeep that through. Now, do you manage those properties, or do you have a property manager?
So I've turned everything over to a management company now, but I will say during the lease up and basically the repositioning process on every deal I've done, we've done the property management in-house. And for a lot of reasons, but the biggest one, as you're coordinating construction and rehab work, you're going to like stress out a property management company who's set for things to be on autopilot, and,
Yep.
And also I want to pick my tenants, up front, really well to get that property off on the right foot. So we've managed everything hands-on until the project is 100% done, 100% leased up, and then turn it over to a longer-term management situation.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great idea, because like once you've got them right, and you feel like you've done all the major lift on it, because you're talking most of these you've done a little bit of pretty good amount of rehab, right?
Yeah, all of them that I've done have been substantial rehab projects, except for one, that we only had to renovate 3 or 4 units out of 20, and then fix a bunch of other deferred maintenance. But most of them have been we're doing 50% or more of the units as far as rehab goes. So
Okay.
so they've been big projects.
And when you get those big projects done, do you usually have a problem filling them up?
We haven't had a problem filling them up, and most of it is because I've stayed away from doing anything in areas I didn't understand. And we have pretty good experience on what leases and what doesn't, because I got properties all over town, and we know what's kind of in demand, and just have a good feel for the area. I'm from the area, I've been investing here a while, so I understand it a little bit better. But yeah, we haven't had a problem getting anything full.
So there's a good story in that too, is understanding how much rehab that you have to do in order to get a property filled up. So a lot of times you can use other people or other properties as examples, right? So if you've got another quad or another 10 or 11 plex that's somewhere in that area and they're full, well, take a picture, get a look at what they look like. And that's probably the level that you need to make to get that same type of pricing and tenant.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's not rocket science, right?
Yeah, no doubt. And we did some, just
Or
to
try to
kind
step
of
it up.
Yeah, no, and just to back up what we knew, we also called, once we had these things under contract, all of them, and are in our due diligence period, we're calling every broker in town, asking them what they think. When the appraiser comes out to appraise it, I'm making best friends with him and asking him not just for your own valuation, because I really want the truth from those guys, but I want to know, hey, what do you see in other properties and what's going on through town? Because they're looking at these things, so really relying on other people to kind of give you some information and some guidance. And then you can look and see, what complex are giving out, tons of incentives. Those are probably the guys that aren't full, if they're giving away free rent and free TV,
Yeah.
stuff like that. You know that there's probably some issues there, and you need to see, hey, is that a management issue, or is that like an area issue? And so you got to kind of use your thinking cap a little bit to really dig in, and you got to be kind of a little bit of a private investigator in a way to kind of figure some of this stuff out.
It's because it's an art, right? It truly is an art.
Yeah. There's
It's
no
really,
science. there's no science to this at all. Like it's
No.
100% voodoo. Like, you got to learn it, so.
And the only way to learn it, it really, I think you just alluded to it, is asking lots of questions,
Yeah.
right? People will give you information, especially brokers, like the appraiser, anybody that's in that line of business there's probably someone that's been there, done that longer than you have, and can give you some guidance.
Yeah.
And,
and if you're just looking at it, if you're just looking at it in a vacuum, even this one deal, you're getting lots of information and advice to help you on this one deal. You're also making lifelong friends and connections in that area that's going to pay off big time and huge dividends later. Knowing every broker in town, huge benefit for getting your deal.
How did you get your second deal?
Well, the second deal was totally random, and it's my biggest. It's 64 units, and I run a local RIA group here. It's kind of how we've met investors in the area, is to basically start a meetup, and so a guy reaches out to me, and they have a 64 unit complex under contract. And that put it on my radar screen. I ultimately didn't want to do the deal with the guy, and he had it locked up for honestly too much money. He was an out-of-state guy. But coincidentally, it happened to be one of the same sellers that I bought my 11 unit from. And they were splitting up a partnership of like 3 or 4 people. And, the last guy I bought it from was one of the owners in this. And so ultimately the other deal fell through because he was just kind of overpaying for it, didn't have financing lined up, couldn't get the money raised for it. And so we were kind of there ready to go once it happened, and locked that deal up, basically the same day the other deal fell out of contract.
Perfect, because you had a relationship because you transacted on a deal before.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, I almost renegotiated that 11 unit like extra hard right at the end. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and pay that extra $5,000-$10,000 that I wasn't expecting and just suck it up and be done with it and not play hardball on it. And I'm glad I did, because it gave me a great relationship with the seller. And I think that was really beneficial to getting the 64.
It is a much smaller world when you go into the commercial multifamily space, right? There's not as many brokers. They all know each other. And if you can perform, transact, right? In other words, close. Because all sins are forgiven when you close on a property, right? You could be an a-hole, right? But if you close, they'll still call you, right?
Exactly.
But if you can be a nice guy and be someone's friend and close, dude, that's the best thing that could ever happen, because then they'll seek you out, and sometimes you got to know that you're back in the market. So the reason you probably didn't get a sniff of that, you weren't maybe projecting that, but now you have relationships, right? 2 deals with one seller, same broker, or is it direct to seller?
Well, he was a broker himself, a residential broker. So no broker, but he was one of the sellers.
Selling all his own stuff, right?
He wasn't unsophisticated. I mean, he knew, what was up. The properties were in disrepair. The partnership had no money. None of them wanted to pony up. So, all these properties were huge anchors.
Just get us our money back, right?
Yeah, and they had owned them for 20 years already. So they're still making money on them at the end of the day, even, completely derelict properties. So,
yep.
But yeah, like you said, it's a small world, and it's even smaller the people who are actually doing deals and
transacting.
Who are actually closing, taking stuff down. That's a really, really small world, and everybody knows each other. And yeah, I'm a hard ass, negotiating, but you got to be a nice guy. You got to make friends, and you got to enjoy it too and have fun. And I think people see that and they want to do business with you again, and that gets you more deals. Appraisers call us about stuff. Inspectors call us about stuff. Other brokers call us about things because they know we can make it happen.
You can be a ruthless negotiator. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, being a ruthless negotiator is fine. It's just trying to make sure that it's how many times you retrade, right? That's where you get the bad rep. And like you just said, you could have probably got an extra retrade, or hey, I only need a 5. But sometimes you got to play. That's the magic, right? The voodoo of do you or don't you, right? And most times we try to find a compromise if there's something really wrong. But sometimes, like like you said, $5,000 wasn't worth it, and it ended up working out very well.
Yeah, no doubt. And honestly, they probably would have taken their lumps right at the closing table. I would have if I'm them on that last deal, trying to knock 10 grand off of it. I probably would have just said yeah and been pissed off about it. But so like I said, it's an art. It's not a science. Same thing on houses. But and I'm a ruthless negotiator. We paid $200,000 less for that apartment complex than the last guy had it under contract for. So. I mean, that's not, I'm ruthless too.
Because you got to understand your numbers. You understand what it really takes, right?
Yeah, and I showed him my numbers. I said, hey, here's why I need to be at this number. I want to make money on it, but I'm also committing a lot of capital to it. So because we put over $800,000 into that property, when it was said and done. So it's not like we were, making shit up. We were, we literally put our money where our mouth was, but we had to get a deal to make it worth it.
Right. And when you can show a broker or a seller the true, like, here's the evidence. Like, I'm not making it up. It is what it is, right? And I always say sometimes you got to make those sellers own it, right? They got to own their crap holes, right? Like, hey, listen,
exactly.
I mean, this thing's pretty bad. Like, let's be honest, okay? This is not the Taj Mahal. You've pretty much milked every bit of money out of this thing.
No doubt. I mean, I told the guy, I was like, hey, look, you're a good person. You're good at hunting, but you guys have really fucked up on the management side of things, right? Like, I mean, I was just straight with him, and they know it. I know it, like it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, just tell us what you're going to give us, right? Like, what's it going to take for you to buy it?
Yeah, it's best just to, like, in any deal, but especially multifamily commercial, it's best to try to get with the seller if you can, even if there's a broker involved. I like direct communications with the seller. I don't know what your experience is on that. In the smaller markets that I'm in, that's possible, more possible. But I want to work without like a broker getting involved. And I'll tell them, hey, look, I'll pay you to stay out of it, because I want to handle this myself and build up a good relationship. So I don't know if that's.
No, I listen, if I can get to a seller, I'm absolutely talking to a seller. I already know. Like, now as a seller, when I sell a property, dude, I'm incognito. I mean, you don't talk to me forever, right? There's no way you're talking to me. Unless, I mean, it would take an act of God, right? Because I already know once I start talking with any buyer, my profit goes down.
Oh, no, I'm totally skip tracing you getting your cell phone number and calling your ass. So that's how I'm going to handle it. Or just show up and knock on your door.
Right?
That's what we can do. So,
yeah. Because when you can make the connection, right, things happen. So, like, I'll give an example. We had a deal where it kind of went almost south because of the seller, right? He wasn't, we had lined up financing, but it had to be at 90% occupancy, and it was until it wasn't, right? And it was truly, we had no control. It was his fault. And so, but, we don't really have a contingency for finance. But I'm like, dude, so finally we have to get me and him on the call, right? Because I was like, listen, I insisted it. I need to talk to the seller because, like, I'm not going to sit there and go through a broker who's going to try to change the I need him to hear it from me, which was, listen, do you want to sell your property? Yeah, I want to sell it. I want to buy it. I'm telling you, I want to buy it. So we were going to buy it this way, but you screwed it up. And so now we got to go get new financing that's going to take another 45 days out of my control. But I'm here telling you I want to buy your property. You want to sell it. Let's just do the deal. Give me the extension. And that's what happened. When buyers and sellers can talk, lots of good things happen.
Yeah, no doubt. And, I've got a big jacked up truck that we use for advertising. It says I buy houses all in a bright yellow wrap. But on the side of it, it says real estate problem solvers, right? That's literally how I make money, how you make money, is we're solving problems. That's literally the only reason we're getting paid and have an income, is because we're finding things that are problems and figuring out how to solve them in a creative, efficient manner. And the best way to do that is to get as many intermediaries out of the equation as possible. And then, two sane, rational people that want the same result can usually make it happen.
Dude, love it, love it, love it. Listen, so if people want to get a hold of you or find out more about your company, where do they go?
Yeah, sure. Hit me up on Facebook. We do a lot of social media. Jared Irby on Facebook, Instagram. We have one for the company, Irby Home Buyers. Our company is Earnedvs.Passive. And those are kind of the best ways to get in touch with me. I'm happy to answer any questions. If you got some private money you want to place, I'm definitely down to chat with you and see if it's a good fit. But I'd love to just talk real estate and help out anybody I can. So,
What's the best advice that you could give? We'll say two groups of people. One, anybody new coming into the business, and one that's looking to grow, right? That's in the business but wants to level up.
well, look, the advice is similar for both. I'll let you kind of give the book answer and what's in the what's in the real estate book, what to do. But I'll say, for the guys getting started, massive action is the only way you're going to be successful in this business or any other business. And you have to go out and every single day get fired up, get it in your head that you're just a bulldozer, and you're going to bulldoze through every single obstacle. Nothing's going to stop you, and just take action today, no matter what. Be smart, but take action in massive quantities. And that same advice for the experienced person as well, massive action. Although once you get to a certain level, it's harder. So you need to figure out how to get uncomfortable, up your goals, and really, say, hey, I want a faster airplane, right? Like, that's kind of where I'm at, right? I got this slow airplane, now I want a fast one, right? So, you got to up your game a little bit and really get bigger goals and get
Finding new mountains to climb, right? Because like, if you're just happy and content, then I believe you're degrading at that point, right? You're degrading on your growth platform. You've got to find something to strive to, and you said it best: being comfortable, right?
Yeah, 99% of the world would say I have some kind of emotional issue because I'm not content or not happy every day. I'm a really happy guy, but I want more, 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 and I keep setting higher and higher goals, and it gives me something to achieve toward, and that's really what it's all about, and that gives you the motivation to go take that massive action.
Rock and roll, brother. Jared, man, listen, thanks for spending some time here with me today, giving me some of your wonderful knowledge. It's always a pleasure to find someone like you. I mean, started off, from where you're at with entrepreneurship, to moving into the real estate space, to creating a bunch of relationships. Understanding, you've really talked more about relationships than anything today. I mean, as I'm listening to this process, your relationship with your bankers, with your money, with the sellers. I mean, it's all relationship based. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's literally every successful person I've seen in real estate. 100% relationships. You got the deal because you were friends with the person, or you were the best fit, or you were out there the most. It's all relationship based and having your name out there. I don't think that there's anything else more important than that, honestly.
Yeah. Listen, again, thanks a lot, brother. We'll see you at the top. Listen, guys, if you're out there wanting to learn how to crush it in multifamily space, take the time to go to kahunawealthbuilders.com and sign up for my quick start workshop. By the way, we have something new coming out. If you want to learn how to invest or be part of our investor team, we have a membership site for you, so you can start looking and getting our deals. It is a process, so you can go to kahunainvestments.com, kahunainvestments.com. This is where you're going to fill out some financial information, and we're going to start a process in our membership site to get to know you, so we can then share our wonderful deals with you. With that said, guys, listen, if you believe it, you can achieve it. your paradise is possible.